The coat lay forgotten on the chair like a quiet confession no one had asked to hear, its sleeves drooping as if exhausted, its pockets heavy with secrets. Outside the coffee shop in downtown Portland, Oregon, rain slid down the windows in slow, tired lines, and inside, time seemed to pause for just a second as Nathaniel Brooks noticed it. He was a man used to spotting patterns, risks, and opportunities from boardrooms and spreadsheets, yet something about that abandoned coat unsettled him. It did not belong to the noise and rush of the morning crowd. It felt like a story left behind mid-sentence, and before he knew it, his life was about to tilt in a direction no quarterly forecast could have predicted. If you believe stories of kindness, second chances, and quiet miracles still matter in a world that moves too fast, take a moment right now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps keep stories like this alive. Nathaniel was a self-made millionaire CEO, the kind whose name appeared in business magazines under headlines about discipline, innovation, and relentless drive. He had built a logistics technology company from a rented garage in Ohio into a national powerhouse now headquartered on the West Coast. From the outside, his life looked polished and complete, but success had come at a cost. Long hours had replaced friendships, and ambition had slowly crowded out compassion. Coffee shops were usually just pit stops between meetings, places to refuel without thinking. Yet this morning felt different, as if the universe had slowed him down on purpose. The coat was simple, worn at the cuffs, clearly not forgotten by accident. Nathaniel picked it up, intending to turn it in, when he felt the unexpected weight inside. A folded envelope slipped from one of the pockets and landed on the table. Inside it were medical papers, creased and smudged, bearing the name Margaret Collins, along with a hospital logo from Seattle and words that spoke of urgent treatment, delayed procedures, and overwhelming costs. Tucked beside them was a small, carefully folded drawing of a house with a crooked cross on top, done in a child's unsteady hand. The sight of it stirred something deep and uncomfortable in him. Nathaniel sat back down, his coffee growing cold. He imagined the woman who owned the coat rushing out in panic, maybe called away by something far more important than caffeine. Margaret Collins was not a name he recognized, but the story unfolding in his mind felt painfully familiar. Years ago, before the success, before the suits and private flights, he had watched his own mother struggle with hospital bills after his father passed away. Back then, kindness from strangers had carried them through days when hope felt thin. Somewhere along the climb to the top, Nathaniel had buried that memory under layers of achievement. He waited longer than planned, scanning the door every time it opened, but the woman never returned. Eventually, responsibility tugged at him harder than curiosity. He left the coat with the barista, but he copied the name from the papers, telling himself it was only for closure. That lie barely lasted until lunchtime. By then, Nathaniel had already asked his assistant to quietly look into the hospital listed on the documents. What came back was not scandal or exaggeration, but quiet tragedy. Margaret Collins was a caregiver at a retirement home, recently widowed, raising a young grandson named Lucas after her daughter's death. She had delayed her own treatment for months to keep food on the table and a roof over their heads. That evening, Nathaniel drove alone instead of taking his usual ride service. The city lights blurred past his windshield as something inside him shifted. He thought about the drawing of the little house with the cross, about faith clung to with crayons and hope. He thought about how easily he could erase numbers on a balance sheet, but how impossible it felt to erase the growing weight in his chest. By the time he reached his apartment, the decision had already formed, though he did not yet know what shape it would take. The next few days were restless ones. Nathaniel arranged to cover Margaret's medical expenses anonymously through a foundation his company supported. It was efficient, clean, and distant, the kind of solution that fit neatly into his controlled world. Yet it did not bring the peace he expected. The image of that coat, left behind like a quiet prayer, would not leave him. So he did something he had not done in years. He stepped out of his routine and into someone else's life. Through a local church outreach in Tacoma, Washington, Nathaniel learned more about Margaret's situation and offered help beyond money. He arranged flexible support for Lucas's schooling and ensured Margaret could focus on healing without fear. He never introduced himself as a CEO. He simply showed up, listening more than speaking, watching a weary woman regain strength and a cautious child learn to smile again. In those moments, success felt redefined, stripped of applause and reduced to presence. As weeks turned into months, Margaret's health improved, and Nathaniel's life quietly transformed alongside it. He began volunteering, not for recognition, but for grounding. The company he ran noticed changes too. He adjusted policies, expanding healthcare support and community outreach, driven by the understanding that behind every statistic was a coat left on a chair somewhere, waiting to be noticed. Employees responded with loyalty and renewed purpose, and the company thrived in ways no algorithm could have predicted. If this story is touching something inside you, if it's reminding you of the power one small act of attention can have, please take a moment near the end to like the video, share it, and let your engagement help spread this message of hope. One quiet afternoon, months after that. Rainy morning, Nathaniel returned to the same coffee shop. The chair by the window was empty, the world outside brighter somehow. He ordered his coffee and sat down, reflecting on how close he had come to walking past a moment that changed everything. He realized that the greatest risk he had ever taken was not in business, but in allowing himself to care again. Before this story ends, we have one special request for you. Please comment below and share what this story made you feel. Or tell us about a moment when kindness changed your life or someone else's. Your words might be exactly what another viewer needs to read today. The coat was never reclaimed, but its purpose had been fulfilled. It had served as a bridge between two lives that might never have crossed otherwise. Nathaniel left the shop with a quiet smile, not because the world was suddenly perfect, but because he understood something essential. Sometimes the most powerful transformations begin with what others overlook, with what is left behind, waiting for someone to notice.